against all the odds to utilize their time was somebody called Helen Keller. Now, you probably have heard of her. And I thought she's somebody we can have a conversation with about in the next week or two. But she was a lady when she was, I think she was 19 months old, so very, very little. She had an illness. She had a fever, which very sadly left her deaf and blind, both deaf and blind. Can you imagine? Now, she was born in 1880 in America. She actually lived to 88, so 1968 she died. And poor girl, I mean, she probably wouldn't have learned much by way of language when she had this illness. So she suddenly found herself deaf and blind. And there's a very good movie about it as well, which I saw some time ago. She was helped to begin to understand the world by somebody called Anne Sullivan. And in the early days, she became sort of very physically aggressive towards Anne as she tried to learn things. And then one day she made a breakthrough. And the first word she sort of learned was water. I think Anne Sullivan put Helen's hands under a dripping tap. And they had a code. They developed a code, or Anne did, so she could learn the letters. In fact, in her life, she said the most important thing in life, things in life, are words, which, of course, we discussed last week in our podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't go on too much about Helen Keller now, but when you think she got a Bachelor of Arts degree at Radcliffe University, which is now part of Harvard.
Yeah.
She traveled the world lecturing on all sorts of things, on life, on disadvantage, on positivity. She didn't waste a moment of her life. Now, just think again, what must it be like to be deaf and blind? I mean, either one of those handicaps is, for most of us, is a kind of a nightmare. But to actually grapple with that and to come through, she wrote 14 books, all of which I believe are still in print. I've got 2 or 3 of them. Quite fascinating to read the words of somebody who is deaf and blind, not be able to visibly perceive the world. And in fact, one of her favorite kind of concepts was that the really important things in life are related not to vision or hearing, but to what goes on in the hearts. You know, the stuff that comes into our hearts, as we would say. So she's a fascinating example of how to utilize your time, properly, constructively, against all the odds that she had to face. And so, yeah, I think she's a great example. So, somebody else wrote a book, Stephen Hawking, called A Brief History of Time. I tried to read that once a couple of years ago, and it really, I mean, I thought, I probably understand the basic rudiments of it, but it was just impossible. So I then found out he wrote another book, a summary of that, called A Briefer History of Time, which made it, he said he wanted to make it more accessible. I mean, the first one was just inaccessible to the layman completely. The second one was not much better, but again, you get this incredible brain that he had explaining in layman's terms, really, what time is all about. And of course, he related it to Einstein and things like that. We can think back to what I said about what we see is kind of within the past 15 seconds. But then you think as well, when we look at the sun, we don't look at it, but we know it's there. The sun at that moment is actually 8 minutes ago. What we see was the light coming to. So we even see that in the past. Much of what we see, but all of what we see is. All of what we see is in the past, even if it's back by only 15 seconds. So this whole concept of time and what it is it going straight ahead of us in a straight line? Some religions believe it going forward goes straight down. I don't quite understand that concept.
All right.
But yeah, time is, something something incredible, really, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our chat about time. Any other thoughts before we have a couple of ethical questions? Any
Yeah.
other thoughts on time?
Yeah.
Go
Might,
on then.
might not be directly on time though, but what movie did you see?
I saw one the other day actually, which was what was it called? It was called Honey Don't.
All
Honey
right.
Don't. And I'm not a film critic. I enjoy watching movies, I must admit, but yeah, the person I was with probably gave it less than I did. I gave it six out of 10, which for me is not very good. She
Yeah.
gave it, I think, probably 4 or 3. But it's we all have a different taste in these things. Equally, you can go along and see a very good film. I saw one last week called The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch, Olivia Colman,
Yeah.
which again, they're two superb actors. But yeah, it's a romantic comedy with a lot of violence in it as well. But
All right. Okay.
yeah, it's not my cup of tea. So again, I came out of that one thinking, oh, I could have done some music tonight, or I could have done something else, and not gone. So that's the risk you take.
That's what I was thinking when you said that's 2 hours of your life you'll never get back. But you must have
Yeah.
enjoyed the popcorn. What about the popcorn?
Well, yeah, I don't really go for the popcorn. No, not keen on pop. Sometimes it's like eating sawdust, I think. So I don't really go for popcorn.
I
Okay.
love the popcorn and jumbo coke. That's what I love. That's why I go to the
Yeah.
cinema. I go to the cinema just for the popcorn, the massive popcorn
Yeah. The
and a
great big.
jump and a
Yeah.
really big plastic,
See,
yeah, of Coke. That's why I go. I sit down there. I don't care
I
about
have
the
I have
movie.
the Coke. Yeah. The
Yeah,
Coke is good.
I don't really care much about the movie. I just sit down there and enjoy the popcorn.
enjoy the popcorn.
Because
Enjoy
that's
the
the only
popcorn.
time.
Enjoy the company.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
only
the
time
company as well.
you don't
Yeah.
feel guilty. You don't feel guilty.
That's probably
having,
true.
having, having a big cup
That's
of Coke.
probably true.
Yeah, well, still on time. There was something else I was going to say.
Yeah.
Now, so we've talked about how, about time that is wasted. But because you said about the going to the movie and you said 2 hours of your life that you never get back. And it gave me the impression